G'day mate and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included with me, JD. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the prints and look, we might as well get some copper ore for why not. I don't want to bring in any more dupes. We've got 8. I'm sort of happy with 8. There's a cargo capsule. It's now disappeared. And we've got 2 tons of copper. Anyway, this episode, I actually really want to look at actively cooling the base. If we go to our temperature overlay, we don't really have any problems with heat yet. In fact, I noticed one of these guys down here. He needs to be between 22 and 37, and he's actually at 21 degrees, so he's actually too cool. But I still want to set it up because I want to look at trying to process our oil that's going to come out of our oil fissure, which is going to give us a lot of heat we're going to have to get rid of somehow. At the same time, I also want to upgrade to, where is it? Here. The actual metal refinery. So the metal refinery, we can use the rock granulator, which will, if we use copper ore, for example, for 100 kilos of copper in, we get 50 copper ore in, we get 50 kilos of copper and 50 kilos of sand. It's basically a 50% loss. If we swap that out for the metal refinery, it uses a lot more power, which is something that we're going to have to handle some way. At the same time, it will produce, for 100 kilos of copper in, it'll actually give us 100 kilos back. So I want to pre-plan out a little bit and try and work out some way to actively cool the base. Now, there are a couple of researchers that we're going to use. One is the Thermo aquatuner, which cools the liquid that's piped through it, but outputs the heat to its immediate vicinity. So it's basically a heat pump, same as what you actually find in your house or car air conditioner. And Thermo Regulator does the same thing with gases. And we're basically going to want both of those. So we're going to unpause first. I'm going to actually, we'll start that researching at least, and then we're going to spend some time planning, because this is a thing that's going to take a little bit of planning for us to complete, and it's also going to take a little bit of space, because I need to be able to take any heat that we're sucking out of the base and move it up into this room that we're using. At the same time, take the heat that's being dumped in this room and basically destroy it. So there's a sort of a 2-step process. Power-wise, we're only on our low wattage wire. So it is something else I have to be careful of, because, will you tell me? Oh. You're not even going to tell me. One of these chews a little bit of power. The other one chews a lot of power. And I can't remember which one's which. So, first off with the planning procedure. A couple of things. Okay, so first off, we're going to go full creative mode. And I'm just going to dig out at least that much area to start with. I actually think we're going to need more, but we'll find out shortly. At the same time, I'm going to pause the game. I'm going to deconstruct buildings, all of those, dig that one up too, and replace that with insulated walls, because again, that's going to be important to what we're doing. We don't want to transfer our heat that we've generated here into our oxygen supply to run off to the rest of the base. We do have a little bit of heat being produced up here, so this is this is another thing I need to actively look at cooling down. We're going to dig out that tile and replace it with insulated, which technically means I need that one done as well. Okay, so we've got that far. Okay, we need to open up the research queue and we're just going to instant research these and go back to normal speed research and start on the smelting. Okay. So, plumbing wise, we've opened up insulated pipe, radiant pipe, liquid shutoffs, liquid element sensor, and a liquid thermo sensor. We're going to be using some of those very, very shortly. For gases, we've also opened up the radiant pipe, the gas element sensor, and the gas thermo sensor. Again, we'll be using some of those shortly. We've unlocked the liquid tepidizer, which just heats liquid. That's all it does. Actually heats it up to... It doesn't tell you, but I think it heats it up to 85 degrees. Or 75 degrees. It has a maximum temperature it heats water up to. It does use a lot of power. So that is something you need to keep in mind. It is still the most efficient way to create heat in the game. We have our Thermo Regulator, which does gases. And it'll cool gas by 14 degrees. So whatever you pump into it will instantly lower by 14 degrees. And then the Thermo Aqua Tuner does the exact same thing, except it's with liquid, right? And it needs 1.2 kilowatts. So given that the technology we're at and the power cables we're at, we're not going to be able to play with the Thermo Aqua Tuner at this stage, but we're going to plan for it. Automation, we now have a hydro sensor and a thermo sensor. So a hydro sensor will say if the water's above or below a certain level, turn a pump on for argument's sake. Thermo sensor, much the same. You know, if it's above a temperature, turn this on. If it's below a temperature, turn it off. And lastly, we have our liquid reservoir and our gas reservoir, which are basically storage tanks. Nothing more special than that. So we're going to go to our utilities. We're going to put in a thermo regulator, which has gas in, gas out. It's a pretty simple system. And I just need to plan how the hell we're going to get this done, and also get our dupes in and out preferably without frying their faces off. That is sort of a build requirement as well. So I'm going to run the game slowly. You don't have ground to be put on. Okay. Utilities, thermo regulator. So if I bop that in there, I want a lip up because I do want to put liquid in the bottom of this. Then I want to use manual airlocks. I want to make these out of iron, which we should have access to. That's it there. The reason I want to use iron is because it is a horrible conductor of heat. That's the main reason I want to use iron. And again, these will have to be insulated because I don't want the heat crawling from door to door to door. Because we want to really create a very, very tight heat lock to try and keep all the heat in this room. Which probably means I want to do insulated all the way along there. Okay, we're just going to shut the room off for the moment. With our one single item in there so far. Now, this will take in hot air or in hot gases, and through the output pipe put out cold gases. As you can see, we have a lot of heat in this room that we want to try and cool down. So we're going to go insulated gas pipe. We're going to bring the gas over to here. We're going to run through a gas bridge, and then we're going to go to our radiant gas pipe, which we have lots of different materials to choose from. Generally anything that is smelted. These are all late tech. Turns out I don't have much that I can smelt with. Generally, copper's one of the best, but gold is not too bad, and gold you will find plenty of digging out slime biomes. So I normally recommend gold, and we're just going to make a bit of a snake here. The idea being that as the air comes out of here, it'll run through these pipes. It'll get cooled by these pipes before it's sucked into this gas pump. And if I look at that again... Okay. So then we go back to insulated pipe. We're going to continue along, and I'm going to plug that in there. Yeah. It needs two things. It needs somewhere to dump its heat, and it also needs a gas to pump around. Okay? So they're the two things that this system needs to get up and running. So, back to our plumbing. At the moment we have this system here, which takes in, hang on, liquid. Takes in water at 36 odd degrees. And you'll see when it goes in here and out to here. Come on, process. It's coming out at a perfect 40 degrees. So, actually this is generating heat currently because it's coming in slightly cooler and going out slightly hotter. But if we were to bypass this and take it up through here and run it through a system up here where we actively we actively heat the water and then run it to our sieve, we could heat that water a lot hotter before running it into our sieve to actually delete the water. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take out those pipes. Actually, going to take out all those pipes. We're going to run our plumbing, which is currently coming up to here. We're going to run it up to there in a liquid pipe. We're then going to swap to radiant pipe, and again, I've got lots more options. Obviously, the refined materials are much better. It looks like radiant liquid pipes have to be refined materials. We're going to use gold or copper. I could smash this up in the rock granulator, which I would legitimately have to. Because we don't really have access to that at the moment, we're just going to use normal pipe. We're just going to run a loop like that. And bring that straight back down into there. We're going to put a liquid bridge over there for the output from these sinks. And plumb that in like that. Okay, so the water's got a little bit further to travel now. We need a power hookup. Again, same story. We can just hook it into... Okay, that's a self-contained unit, so I can't actually plug into that. But I can plug into this system. Okay. So we've got water, which can come up here, and as you can see, because this area is actually cooler, it's actually going to cool down this water a little bit more. We're not using radiant pipes, so it's not the most efficient, but you can still see that water is cooling down. We're going to go over to our ventilation, and we need to fill this gas pipe. So I'm going to run a gas bridge. No, I'm going to run a gas bridge. I'm going to rotate it. And I'm going to run over to here, and then I'm going to gas bridge in again. So the idea is whatever this hydrogen generator doesn't use, the excess was going over to power this one. Now instead we're just going to borrow that small amount to pump into this system. We don't want the system to back up. We want it to be just short of backing up is probably the best way of putting it. At the same time, we also need to look at trying to add some sensors in here somewhere. I missed what the temperature. So we've got hydrogen at 40 degrees. It's now coming through at 22 degrees. So it's cooled right the way down. And we can probably already see that. Yep, our pipes are starting to cool down. It'll be a while before the air starts to cool down, but the point is we want cooler temperature wherever possible. So we've got a nice simple start of a loop. We need to improve it by having some sort of sensor, like a gas shutoff, to stop the gas leaving if it's still too cold, because we've got 31 degrees gas. Realistically, 30 degrees is a great temperature. That gas didn't need to be recooled down to 17 degrees. So we're going to go to our ventilation. Actually, we're going to go for gas pipe thermo sensor. So we're going to whack that in there. Okay. Which is going to need a touch of automation. And we're just going to go automation wire there to there. And we're going to say active if it is above, say, 25 degrees. Insulated. Actually, no, they can be insulated. Alright, so we're going to run the gas through. It's going to be sensed here. Now, our catch is we don't quite have enough gas in there. Ideally, I'd want to sense it straight before where it comes out. Is there any way I can do that? Yeah, there is. Okay, we're going to have to... You can go away, you can go away, you can go away. Gas shutoff can go away. Insulated gas pipe can go away. I'm going to have to replumb this. And this is something I advise you're going to have to get used to. There is going to be times when you have to replumb things. Because you just didn't think... the 10 steps ahead that were required. I want automation. Deconstruct. Okay, back to ventilation. We want... So thermosensors there. We want to come up one pipe. Then we want to insulate it there to there. We want a gas shut off here. And we want a thermosensor there. We want you to be above 25 degrees. We want a touch of automation wire in there, and I forgot last time, it actually needs power. The debate's still out whether it needs power or not, but it does need a connection to power, we'll put it that way. There's a bit of gold stuck at the top, it's fine. Okay, so this gas is going to come through, it's super, super, super cold. If we look at our automation, this is switched off. So the gas is actually going to sit right here at 18 degrees. And it's going to wait until it heats up. At which point it'll let that gas pass again. See, that gas has finally got up to, it's now 30 degrees. It'll pass through the system. Meanwhile, we've started to cool this area. On the flip side, we've started to heat this area. So this is something we'll have to take into consideration over time. The more we run the system, the more heat we're going to output to here. We can and we will change over a lot of these pipes. It's actually something we're going to do. Now that we have access to the technology, we're going to go with insulated pipe and all these pipes. So we know what comes out of the sieve is at 40 degrees. So we're going to select our build. We're going to select sandstone because it is fairly thermally insulated. And we're just going to build pipes over our existing pipes. You saw I turned the priority down because it's not super high priority. But it is something I want the dupes to do over time. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Whoops. You cannot insulate your bridges. Not that you actually have to. As far as anybody can tell, they seem to be immune to any sort of temperature leakage. That's also at 30 odd degrees. So back to plumbing, back to insulated. And yes, unfortunately you can't really tell what's being done. Yeah, that goes down. From the plumbing overlay. You've sort of got to swap back and forth between the two. Okay, after that water's been heated up, same story. We want to go back to plumbing. We want to go to insulated pipe. and we want to run that down through there. Obviously my dupes need a way to enter into this room. Buildings. Priority 5. And for the moment we'll just deal with the jumping ladder. That's all we need. The last thing I want to do is I want to automate... That was the wrong type of door. I want to put a mechanical airlock. Really? I want to put a mechanical airlock here in the middle. And I want to hook up automation from there to there with a clock sensor in there. And I want, for just a very small period, for the door to open. And the idea being that all 3 doors are connected, being 3 bits of metal connected to one another. They will obviously move temperature very, very efficiently between door to door to door. So we actually want the exact opposite. Like so. Now that we have, and we can see this in the oxygen overlay, there is a complete vacuum in here. It's not a gas, it is a complete vacuum. Because it's now a vacuum, air cannot move temperature from tile to tile, or from door to door to door. And literally, that just has to, for the shortest period per day, close the door to destroy any gases that are stuck between these two doors from a duplicate walking through. And then reopen the door and then keep it open for the duration of the day. Okay, that's all that automation switch does. And it just creates a thermal barrier between point A and point B. We will put in 1, 2, 3, 4, so they can reach that high. So if I put in a ladder here, they should be able to reach all of that. So yeah, dupes have some work to do. They will come through and they'll insulate all these pipes bit by bit by bit. Once they're insulated, it means hopefully we have less temperature leakage. Whoops, there's an autosave in there. But at the same time, you can see we're now very, very actively cooling this little bit of pipe, which is going to hopefully give us slightly cooler oxygen. It'll take a while to build up enough back pressure. I'm just looking, is there any better way I can run the plumbing? Not really. I could come in straight over the top for an extra couple of tiles. But yeah, you can see our gas pipes at 20 odd degrees. We are actively cooling the area. The only other thing I can do is, under utilities, there is temp shift plates, which move the temperature from layer to layer to layer. That's really the best way I can describe them. And you can make them out of many, 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 many different materials. There's even actually somewhere in here ice. Yeah, so you can make them out of ice, and that literally, the ice melts, it just dumps a bunch of cool water into the area very, very quickly. For our example, we're going to use not copper ore. Let's turn that menu off. As you see, even without the creative mode on, I have a lot of choices. We want gold amalgam, purely because it's something we have lots of. And if I put just one, actually, just one, right here in the middle. You can see the oxygen, 35, 36, 34, 37. As it flows through, it will cool. It's not going to cool by a massive amount, but it's definitely going to be something. Right? At the same time, the gas in here will heat up probably a lot faster. What's actually in the pipes. As you see, it's taking a couple of chunks. It's waiting on this tile to heat up. That tile's heated up. It is waiting on that tile. And it's let through more. as this system runs longer and longer, we will have cooler and cooler oxygen being pumped in the base, which is always a bonus. At the same time, as the dupes actually come over here and start insulating all these pipes, same story, we will have a cooler and cooler base, slowly over time. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for this episode. It's really an introduction on how we can start dealing with heat. We're going to step into it probably more into the next episode. Maybe not... Yeah, actually, no, we're going to step into it more with the next episode, because the next thing I really want to set up is a smelter, which again is going to need more active cooling, because it's a very, very hot machine, along with probably more stable power, although we don't have a lot of other choices for free power at this stage. Our electrolyzer system is currently our best choice of free power. But we're pretty good on the oxygen front. Obviously, if I had more dupes, I'd have more oxygen being consumed, which would then give me more free hydrogen, which would give me more power. But we've intentionally chosen this series to keep it as small as possible. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you're enjoying, and I'll catch you in the next episode. All right, bye.